Hello. Welcome to the All Things Admin AdminTech Crash Course. My name is Julie Perrine. I'm the founder and CEO of All Things Admin, and I'm pleased that you're joining us for today's presentation. The AdminTech Crash Course is a technology-focused training program for busy professionals. Our goal with each session is to create a crash course on the relevant technology topics that you need to stay current on technology and software that you use each day so you can be more productive and efficient in everything you do. Today's webinar topic is Get Smart with Microsoft SmartArt, presented by Donna Gilliland. Donna's career in technology began back when DOS was the king of computer operating systems for the personal computer. Floppies were still actually floppy, and the internet had just begun to explode. And at that time, her career, there were no training companies. You either learned it on your own or you went back to school to learn all about it yourself, and Donna did both. Donna's career in the corporate world started as an executive assistant. She worked in a programming department supporting a staff of programmers and the VP of IT. But that was just the beginning. Over time, she realized that she had an aptitude for learning software technologies and the ability to communicate to others in terms that all could understand. Her love of helping people, business, and technology made a great fit for her future career in training. And today, Donna is an award-winning technology instructor, a certified technology trainer, and the president of Most Training. If you're ready to add some fun and interactive visuals to your documents and presentations, you're in the right spot. So please join me in a warm virtual welcome for Donna Gilliland. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you. Glad to be here and get started. Okay, my screen should be coming up here shortly.
I can see it. We're good.
Okay, good. Then I'll get there and we'll get started. Well, this class, during your 1 hour, we're going to start from the beginning with the assumption that you've never used SmartArt. And if you have, then perhaps you'll learn some new things within the course of our 60 minutes together. So we'll start from the beginning. SmartArt, as you may be familiar, it is a visual way for you to communicate information. It's an easy-to-use tool. It came out in Microsoft Office 2007. What you learn today will be applicable to you in PowerPoint as well as Excel because you have SmartArt available there, and in all of those it is located on the Insert ribbon. So we're going to get started from the beginning. So wherever your cursor's at in your Word document and you insert SmartArt, that's where the object's going to go. So we'll start with one, and I've got several for us to work with as samples, and we'll get to those shortly. So from the Insert ribbon, within the Illustrations group is SmartArt. When you initially click SmartArt, you're presented with a dialog box that says choose a SmartArt graphic. What you're seeing from left to right. The left-hand side of the screen, the category is set to all so that you can literally look at every single SmartArt or illustration type that there is. But when you know which category you want to work with, perhaps it's the hierarchy category, and that one would give me organizational charts that I could work with. And then you have removed all the ones from Site that don't matter to you. But these are by category. That's the primary point of your instruction right now, is understanding that there are categories. And I do want to speak to the categories for just a moment longer. I want you to be aware of the Office.com category at the bottom. I actually wrote about SmartArt in Office Pro magazine last year, so if you still have your copy, I think you'll find some tips and tricks there that you find helpful. And one of the things I talked about was Office.com. Office.com, you will find illustration types, and what's unique about this category is that Office.com is updated by Microsoft. So your Office.com may have additional SmartArts to choose from that maybe you didn't have a few months ago. So just keep that in mind. All right, well, let's get started with your first SmartArt and build your foundational knowledge from that, and then we'll go further from there. I'm going to start by going to a list. You know how when you're doing a PowerPoint, if you use PowerPoint, many will use a bulleted list, but there's a better way visually to do it, and that would be through a SmartArt list. The same applies if I am creating a Word report and I'm making a list. In some cases, doing it in a graphical way might make it more visually connecting to the audience who's going to be the receiver of your report. So I'll start with list as the category, and when you look to the right, wow, lots of options. I'm going to start with one of the most basic ones, which is in the second row, second choice. It's a vertical box list. Now, regardless of the type of SmartArt that you choose, when you click that option, be sure to look over to the right, because when you look to the right, you are told at the bottom of that SmartArt what type it is. This one says vertical box list, and then you are given insight as to what it is best used for. So see, some of these illustration types that you may look at later, they might not be obvious as to how they could be best utilized. So this explanation you're given will help you out. So at this point, I'm just ready to click on OK. And then in comes my SmartArt that I chose, which is a vertical list. Keep this in mind. When that SmartArt comes in, you have changed the context of what you're in, and that results in you getting 2 ribbons that are unique to just the SmartArt. So if you look up at the top of my screen where the mouse is pointing, it says SmartArt Tools, and there are 2 ribbons for it, Design and Format. You'll learn to work with both today. You won't learn every single little thing because we have 60 minutes together, but you're going to learn a lot. So we'll start with the Design. When you look at the Design ribbon, there is a SmartArt Styles Gallery. And I'll click the More button, as it's called, the arrow at the end with the horizontal line, and expands to show you all the different types of SmartArt designs you could apply to what you've chosen. But before I do that, notice on my screen that I have a box or selected on my SmartArt, and keep in mind that with SmartArt, you can select different shapes and make changes to just it. More about that later. But if I click out of my SmartArt and deactivate, and you look back up at my ribbon, there are no more Design and Format ribbons because I'm not in the SmartArt. So when I come back in the SmartArt, you just always want to be careful about where you click in the SmartArt so that you don't wind up selecting a specific element. All right, so here we'll start with how do you get the information in, and then we'll go over some of the design. So it's very simple in the beginning. It's a matter of you clicking where it says text and typing what you want to show up in your SmartArt. We're going to put in whatever you want to put in that's relative to your SmartArt. So it's a matter of clicking and typing. Now, if you want to add more shapes, you can. For example, I'm clicking on the shape that says Vacation Changes. And if I wanted to add another shape, go to the Design ribbon. And when you get to the Design ribbon, looking to the left, you have a group that says Create Graphic, and you have the option to add a shape. So if I choose Add Shape, I can choose to add it after or before the shape that I have active. I'm going to choose Add Shape After. And we're going to put in. So just a few little things to get you going, but we're going to pick up the speed pretty quickly after these basics. Now, as you look at the SmartArt styles, personally, I like a three-dimensional look. I think that it is a lot more impactful. That's my personal opinion. But as you look at the SmartArt styles, I'm going to expand them. Because of live preview, you can point to one you think you'd like, and you'll see that change happen. I am a fan of the three-dimensional looks, so I'm going with the first 3D. And of course, now some of them, you can change the angle. Now that's not what I would use on the one that I'm using right now. But there are times when moving to an angle is meaningful, but not in what I'm working on at the moment. Just be aware of what you have. So I'm going back to just the 3D. So already it's taking on a visual change with just a few clicks. But going back into the SmartArt and back to design, right now I get all blues, and you are not stuck with just the colors. You may want to have a different color for each option. In the SmartArt styles, you have a button to the left of all these styles. It says change colors. And then you have an option for different categories: colorful, accent, accent 2, just different combinations. These are in grays and white under the primary theme colors. And you can watch my screen change as I choose one. And then in this case, I'm choosing a colorful one, as it's called. And then you can see in your SmartArt styles the colors change to correspond with what you've chosen. But I'm not a fan of the fact that the yellow doesn't show up very well. So once again, you can change each element by itself. So I'm going to select part-time and go to the Format ribbon. This is my first time for you to see the Format ribbon. So with that one shape selected from the Format ribbon, Shape Styles, Gallery, has many choices. It's up to you which color you think would go well with this multicolor look that we've chosen. But the point is that you can change each of these individually to your own liking. Now if you look on my screen again and we're on the Design ribbon, you'll see that there is a Layouts group, and the Layouts group, when expanded, simply gives you a way for you to pick a different layout even after you've gotten your information already in. Depending upon the layout you choose, it may transition well or not, depends upon what it is. For example, right now I am on the vertical list, and it shows that by putting a small box around it. Well, let's look at some of the others. This one is a vertical list, but it comes with a picture. So the point is that you can get it all done and then rethink your strategy. And with each one of these, there is a picture symbol, and simply by clicking that button, I can then choose the picture that I want to go into that box, choosing from a file, from clip art online. It's up to you what the image is going to be and where you've placed it. And that's why you want to be aware of your layout section, because you can pick a different layout on the fly. This one is a vertical curved layout, so I think you get the idea. You can make changes on the fly after your information is already in. Now, a few other things before we go into more in-depth aspects of you creating SmartArt. It is one object. It's an object that contains many different shapes, but if you want to resize this as one object, not resize the shapes, but just the entire dimensions of the container that all this sits in. As you look at your SmartArt, around the bordered area, you see squares at the left, right, top and bottom, same way for midpoints. And it's a matter of going to one of those points, double-headed arrow in place, and you can click and drag to change the size of it as one unit. If you wanted to change the size of a specific shape, then you'll need to click the shape, and then the shape will have the same options, the squares and the circles, so that you can resize if you need to. Okay, so I think you're getting the basics so far. And we're going to try some more things. By the way, right now I'm on an empty page. There is no text here, so here's what I want you to keep in mind. If you're using this in Word, you're probably got a report that you are creating. It could be a page, it could be multiple pages, but it is a graphic that you have created when you use SmartArt. And from the Arrange group on the format, you do have a text wrap option, so that if this SmartArt illustration is going in with a newsletter style or a page of text, you can choose how that should align within your material, whether it should be in line with text, square, type, top and bottom within the text. So you have those options that will make it easier for you to maneuver that graphic that you've quickly created through SmartArt. Now, let's go back to this one. Back to design, and let's go back to the graphic, create graphic group. When we first created this one, I clicked in the text boxes and I typed, and I went to the next one, clicked, and I typed. But you can use the text pane. The text pane button, which I just clicked from the create graphic off the design ribbon, it gives you the option to just work in the pane like you would a bulleted list, and you can create more content by using the list without going to the design ribbon and choosing to add a shape. So if I click at the end of vacation changes in the text pane and press the enter key, look at my screen. Below vacation changes is another box, and if I type here in the text pane, it will add to it. So you can use the text pane to key in everything that you want, and you're creating the shapes as you go. When you don't want to see the text pane anymore, just simply click the X. If you turn it on in the future and you come back in and it's still on, just close it. You may have used this before and it popped up and maybe you didn't know what it was. Just another way for you to get your content in. Now, to delete a shape, which I just did, it's click on the shape and press the delete key. If you want to move your SmartArt around, it's important that you place your mouse pointer so that it's not on one of the circles or squares, because a double-headed arrow means you're attempting to resize, where your four-headed arrow means you want to move. So that four-headed arrow appears when I approach a bordered area, as long as I'm not on a resize square or circle, and then you can drag it around. You can also copy a SmartArt by right-clicking and making certain that it's the full object and you're not on a shape, because you want to get the entire thing, and you're able to copy it from program to program. You may have things in PowerPoint that you'd like to place in Word and vice versa, and you can. So to delete it entirely, make certain the SmartArt object is selected as a whole, press the delete key so you don't have your SmartArt anymore. So now let's go down to a page where I have started another SmartArt. This SmartArt is to list the Excel 2013 exams for master certification. And this is what I started with. Insert, SmartArt, and in the All category, although you'd find it in the List category again, there is an option for horizontal bullet list. And when clicked, if you look at my screen, even if you can't read the informational text, it says that this horizontal bulleted list you would use to show non-sequential or grouped lists of information, and it works with large amounts of text, and all the text has the same level of emphasis and direction is not implied. So see, these all, they can work independently of one another, and that's what I'm trying to convey here, is that Excel 2013 is an exam, and see how there are 2 bulleted items by default that come with this. And in Excel 2013, it's exam 427, 428. Word 2013 has 2 exams, but PowerPoint only has 1. So what do you do about that extra bullet that you don't want? Click in that text box and press the backspace key, and then that bullet is gone. Your choices now, because I need to add one for Outlook, your choices are either making the PowerPoint shape active and going to the design ribbon and choosing to add a shape, or you can, when you're in this box, if you look closely at the left hand side of this vertical line next to Excel 2013, there's a very tiny arrow, and when you click, it turns on your text pane. Now, we got to that earlier from a ribbon. So here, if I wanted to add another shape, if I click at the end of the 422 exam number in the text pane, and because of the bullet hierarchy, if I press the Enter key, I'm going to get a bullet of the same level, but all you would have to do, there are a couple of things you could do. You can press Shift-Tab on the keyboard, or if you like working from the ribbon, on the design ribbon in the Create graphic, you have a Promote and Demote button. And Promote takes you back to first level of hierarchy, and then if you look at my screen, see how I now have another box. And I can type here in the text pane as demonstrated before, or type in the box. I'm going to put in Outlook 2013. If I press the Enter key, then the program thinks I want another box, but I don't. So it's either press the Tab key, or from the design ribbon in the Create graphic, choose Demote, and then I can type in what the exam number is for that. There are, while we're on this, there are a total of 6 exams to get master level at Office 2013. So this exam is 423. And then I'll close the pane. So just remember, you have 2 ways to enter this information. If you like the pane better, then use the pane, and then you can use your Demote and Promote buttons. And then I want to change the look at this, so going back to the design ribbon, there are those SmartArt styles, and I'm looking for one that I think would make this look a little better. I won't repeat all the information about the change of your colors. You know that you can because we did this earlier. Just make sure you're always active in the one that you want to change. And I'll delete the first one. And before it's over, I am going to show you how you can use it in PowerPoint and then animate the content. So let's go on down. This one is an organizational chart. And you have so many choices. Boy, I remember the days when making an organizational chart in Microsoft Word was not an easy task. I would have loved to have had so many features back in the day. But this is an organizational chart which you can get to again your own design. Let me deactivate that. So it's the same as before. It's on the Insert ribbon, SmartArt, and this is from the Hierarchy group. Now the one that I've chosen, in the second row there's one called Circle Picture Hierarchy, so that you can easily add pictures of the employees Then there are your standard organization charts that don't have images. Now the second one from the top does give you the ability to have pictures as well. But whichever one you choose, you're going to have to go through this same process. So let me go ahead and get out of this since I already have one started. And I put Julie's picture in. And of course I would type her name. For time's sake, I'm not going to type out Julie Perrine, founder of All Things Admin. But now if I go to the next circle, and all circles have an image, is the same thing. Clicking the circle is going to produce a dialog box for you to insert from a file. And I'm going to browse, and I'm going to make myself the assistant to Julie. I hope that works out well, Julie, and being your assistant. But you get the idea. Now if you look, Julie's image, that area is a little bit larger because I made it larger by clicking and dragging. But this is a very simple thing for you to keep going. Now if I came to this first box, let's see, I don't want to add another image, I want to do text here. And go back to design. And add a shape. Excuse me for the delay. So who should we add? Does anybody want to volunteer their name for this box? Otherwise, I just make up a name. But you get the idea. This is very repetitive in terms of what you would do. So if you need more shapes, you want to use the text pane, you can. And so those things have not changed. You're not really learning anything new at this point other than being made aware of what your options are. Let's go down to the next one. This one is a radial list. And then this one is a radial cycle to show relationships. And I'm going to use both for you. So rather than bring them back in, you already know how to insert a SmartArt. It's now learning how to work with what's within each SmartArt type that you should choose. So I chose the radial cycle to show relationships because this works well for what I'm trying to communicate visually. That Google Plus, from Google Plus has these features. That's what's on the outer circle. You have to have a G+ profile. From there, you can build circles, work with communities, Hangouts. These are all relative to Google+, so the radial cycle makes a good choice to show relationships to the one thing in the middle, which is Google+. Now, if you, again, don't like the colors, I'm not a fan of the yellow, it doesn't show up very well, but of course you can also change the text color just by double-clicking, but we'll work on the shapes. From the shapes, you go back to design, expand your format options, to pick the one you want. Don't forget that in this same group you have a shape fill. So if you wanted to work with gradients, shape outline would be whether or not you want a line drawn around those shapes. Just making you aware of your options. I won't go into every single formatting option there is. I'm more concerned that you learn how to maneuver the SmartArts once you create them. Now as you look, on the Google+, again, same thing about the formatting. Now, something we haven't covered. If you right-click a SmartArt, The action list that appears gives you the choice to change the layout, which we did from the ribbon a moment ago. It's just another place to do the same thing. And several things are here that we've done that you can do in a ribbon. But if you look on down, there's an option to insert a caption, and we haven't covered that. So I'm going to go back up to our Microsoft Office certification, and we're going to add a caption to this one. So it's activate and then right-click, and you can choose to insert a caption. When the box arrives, I already have one that I've done earlier, but you can choose to delete existing labels, add a new one. If I choose new label, a new label dialog box comes up. And give it the OK. And then if you look at your box closely, it shows your label, and then to the right of position, you can choose whether or not you want that label to appear above or below. And it comes in quite small, and you know how to change the size of things, and you can change that to the size desired. The reason why it gives you a number is that the default is to give you automatic numbering, because if you are creating these SmartArt illustrations I think about how when I write for Office Pro, there are several illustrations that go with the article, and then I use the auto numbering for illustration 1, 2, 3, etc. So it automatically gives you the numbering, but you can delete the numbering if you're not using it for purposes of illustration consecutive numbering. We did that with a right click. Resize that a little bit. Now, hopefully you are getting the idea about how to work with SmartArt. So let's pop over to PowerPoint to look at some things that you can do in PowerPoint with your SmartArt. And by the way, some of these that you see, like this one on Google+, I actually copied it from a PowerPoint presentation into Microsoft Word. So I'll go to PowerPoint, and we'll go over some things that you can do. Now I'm going to start with this same SmartArt, but in PowerPoint. I don't need the design or the format ribbon because I'm not trying to make any changes. I'm going to be working with animation. So I'm going to the Animations tab, and then from the Animations tab, I can add animation. Now if you look at mine, I've already added animation to this one, but I did that by choosing Add Animation and then choosing how I wanted this object to come in. I'm going to choose Appear. Keep in mind that once you choose an animation for a SmartArt in PowerPoint, it's at that time that you're going to get Effect Options, which is just to the left of Add Animation. And the effect options that you get are dependent upon the SmartArt that you have created and the type of animation that you've added. So this has an option to come in level at once. Now I'm going to get rid of some of these. I'm going to open up the animation pane because that's where you can go, and it says open to the far right, and I can get rid of these animations. Right click and remove, and now my animations are gone. Let's try another one. Here's another SmartArt illustration. This one is to communicate the points about the benefits of Google Hangouts on air. I could have done this in a bulleted list, but this is more interesting visually and still communicates the same information. So my key points are in the circles. And then, of course, this circle could have had the Google Hangouts logo in the center, and then from the spokes, the key points I'm making about that particular feature. But our goal right now is, how can I add some enhancement to the object while within a PowerPoint presentation? So again, it requires that you select your SmartArt and be on the Animations tab. Then in the Advanced Animation group, choose Add Animation. You have options for entrance effect, emphasis, but we're not on a PowerPoint class. So I know that opening this up a little bit probably makes you want to know a whole lot more, but we want to stay focused on the fact that it's SmartArt and then what you can do with it when you're in another program like PowerPoint. Where if we were doing a true PowerPoint class, I'd be giving great detail about your entrance, emphasis versus exit. So we're going to go again with an entrance option. And I am going to choose a float in. And you can see that it does. Then, now that I've chosen the animation, then I get effect options on the left. There's the button that says effect options. So let's see what I get for this one. See, as you look at my drop down, you can see that there are a few things new to the effect options that I didn't have for the one I was doing on Google+, because it was a different type of SmartArt object. So there's the option to, since I chose to have it float in, then I get to change whether it floats in a down pattern versus an up pattern, because the default is for it to float up. So you can change for it to float down, but in addition, you have options for whether this comes in as one object, which is what it's doing now. Then there's an all at once, a one by one, a level at once. This is the one by one. This is how it looks in show mode. I have to click to activate because I added an animation. I chose the extra enhancement of a one by one, so if that was a logo of Hangouts on Air or whatever topic it is, that's coming in first. And then with the next click, my next point comes in. And the point is that it's free live streaming video, and I can speak to the audience about the benefits of this free live streaming video. Then when I click the next point, you get the idea. So having the SmartArt, besides its visual power for those who are in your PowerPoint presentations or reading your document, the power in the PowerPoint is being able to do more things with that visual, but you want to choose what makes sense, not choose things just because it looks cool. But it makes sense, for example, to have these come in one at a time so I can speak to the audience about that point, and then they're not distracted by reading ahead all of the other points. So I'll get out of show mode. So just remember that if you want to remove your animations, be sure in the Advanced Animation group you choose the Animation pane. And then to the right, you can right-click that animation and make changes. Now, we won't go into that detail because it's not a true PowerPoint learning. I'll leave that in place. And then I'm going to stay in PowerPoint for a moment, and I'm going to go to the Design ribbon. So far, you've covered the Add Shape. Now, I'm not on a shape, so in case you're wondering, why is that dimmed out? Because my SmartArt is selected as one unit, and I have to click on an item or an object within the SmartArt before it becomes an option. So add shape, and then I get the option to add shape above and below. And you've covered those things. And you've covered the text pane. Now, I did a move down. I was on free live streaming video. But while here in the design ribbon, in the create graphic, there is a move down, move up, so you can reorder your information. Now I'm going to reorder mine so that that free live streaming moves back up. You just have to be on what you want to switch around. And like before, as demonstrated in Word, once you get something created and you think that there is a better SmartArt for what you created, then that's why you want layouts. And then you can choose. And as I hover over, you can see the changes happening. And of course, you can tell by some of the ones that I'm hovering over, you absolutely wouldn't want to use those. It's got to make sense. All right. Now on this one, again, I can go with using multicolor if I prefer. But by default, you're always going to get the standard office blues, and everything's going to be the same color always. So I'm going back to the design ribbon and go back to just one central color here. All right, so I hope you're forming questions so far. So let's make sure we haven't missed anything. And hopefully it's making sense to you. Now, if I want to use this particular SmartArt in Word, as demonstrated before, activate the SmartArt, right-click and copy. And then I'm going to go back to Word. And I'm going to place it at the page where I want it. And when you paste, your choices are to use the destination theme, keep the source formatting, or to bring it in as a picture. And I do want to keep my source formatting. And now you have it in Word. It's just that I don't have my animation options because that is unique to PowerPoint. All right? I think that we have covered just about everything. I'm just going to make sure if I can give you some special tips anywhere here. I do want you to start thinking about using visual ways, and here's a power tip for you. If you have a PowerPoint presentation right now, and any of those slides are using a bulleted list, and you want to go back and make them a SmartArt, you're just a right-click away. Let me see if I've got one in this PowerPoint, and I'll demonstrate. If not, I'll just verbalize it for you. All right, if, and I don't, but I'll put one in very quickly. So while I'm putting this in, here's the point. If you have a bulleted list in PowerPoint, what's key is that you right-click in the list. When you right-click in that bulleted list, from your actions list, you see the option that says Convert to SmartArt. So you can choose a SmartArt that you think would work well. In this particular example, it's a list, so it makes sense for me to stay with a list. Now this one would include pictures. but I'm going to go with this one. Now, when I use these as a list, if you don't have many things, that just comes in too big, so don't forget about your ability to move and to resize so that it looks better on the screen. And don't forget about the design ribbon and the SmartArt styles and all the things you've learned so far. So that's really your power tip. One power tip is that you can convert a bulleted list in PowerPoint by right-clicking in that list and then choosing the SmartArt you think would go well to communicate your information. And as you can see, it's very easy to use. You can use this in Excel as well. I tend to use more charts in Microsoft Excel than I do in I use it in Word and PowerPoint more than I would in Excel. Also keep in mind, here's another power tip for you. You can save, for example, a slide. If you have a slide that has a SmartArt on it and you wanted it to become a graphic, you can save that slide as a graphic by doing a File, Save As. So I'm in PowerPoint right now. File, Save As. And where it says PowerPoint Presentation, you're going to choose whether or not you want that to be a graphic. I'm going to choose JPEG. And when I choose Save, you will be prompted. It says, which slides do you want to export? All the slides or just this one? Meaning the one that you're active on. The one that you're active on. So I'm going to choose just this one. So this slide that I'm active on, it would be it's the one that I just saved as a graphic that I could use in other things. Okay. I think we're at a good stopping point, and I'm open for questions.
Perfect. We have a couple that have come in here, so let me find the first one here. It's from Susie. She says, how do you lock the elements once you have the elements you want in place so that you could enlarge to scale if needed without clicking on each part of it?
Okay. Well, here's a prime one that's in front of me. This one has multiple circles. So if and this would be the case, by the way, for all of you to know that what I'm about to demonstrate to you would be applicable even if you were in Word. So if I select that first circle and I hold down the Control key and I select the next one, and the next one, this is not the only way, it's one way. So I've got the Control key held down as I click each one of those objects. So they're all selected. And as I click to drag, and I've chosen one within the selection, and I've gone to a size handle to get the double-headed arrow, and I drag, and see, they all changed at once. I'm assuming that's what's meant by the question.
I think so, but if not, she can ask another one here, and we'll clarify for sure. And in the meantime, I'll give you Kelly's question. She says, can we have an example of converting existing data in Excel? Oh,
to a SmartArt, you mean?
Yes.
Is that okay? I can bring up an Excel spreadsheet, see if I can find one, or I can, let me open up Excel. You know how fearful I am of opening all these applications.
Yeah.
The reason for that is all the memory and stuff. But let me bring up Excel for us. But again, as far as Excel goes, it would be my preference to use a chart, but I'll show you. So let's see here. Oh, I bet she's asking if I created. Let's find out. So I'm going to insert a SmartArt. And again, you know, I have to decide what to create. But I think what I'm hearing is taking data from Excel and making it a SmartArt. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what's being asked?
Yes. Yes. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to put all of the destinations, not the duplicates of them, but like all of the individual destinations in a list or something to make it visual.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to take information that's already in there and convert it into a SmartArt, how do we do that, or is that possible?
Well, see, when I select the information and when you go to the insert ribbon and you choose SmartArt, you're just going to get, you know, a box, even though I have something highlighted. So there's not an option for me to take what I highlighted as there is with a chart.
Oh, okay.
And be able to convert that. See what I'm saying?
I do see. So you can't do like you do with a chart where it'll take the data you have highlighted and actually convert it into something in that chart. SmartArt does not do that in Excel.
Right. So if I wanted to do something like that, I mean, typically in a chart, I'm going to use a chart to communicate variances, comparison, trends, that type of thing. But like, for example, I taught often for steel companies here in Birmingham, and there is a process to making steel. They start with scrap, and I won't go through all the details, but in their spreadsheets, they have their raw data that they're tracking and communicating, but they also might want a SmartArt chart in one of these that shows a process that's involved in whatever this product is that they're producing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but they would still have to enter the individual steps into that process if they want that to be displayed on the page with it.
That's right. They'd still have to enter that in, because with the spreadsheet, they wouldn't necessarily be putting in things like a process. They're putting things tracking the gauge of steel, tracking quality control, a lot of different things, but there may be a connection they want the reader to make visually to maybe the process.
Right. The person
or even safety for that matter.
Right. Kelly says, I have a flow chart in Excel, but I would love to use SmartArt to enhance it. So that's what she was trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, her flow chart, the flow chart, I mean, you know, the charts have a lot of enhancement tools to them.
Well, we may have to explore that on a future session. That's a good one.
Well, I'd be glad to demonstrate what can be done. It's just our limited time on that. But just let me say to all of you who are just doing charts. First, is it Kelly?
Yes.
Kelly. Okay. So, Kelly, did you create a flow chart from your Excel data? Because if you did, you have tremendous number of enhancement options once you click on that chart that become available on your ribbon. In fact, many more enhancements than you do for a SmartArt.
Okay, well, there might be an opportunity for, yeah, she says the process was given to me via an Excel spreadsheet only, so the data was not in a flowchart format.
Okay.
Yeah, that
so
makes
did she just get the graphic and she didn't get the data?
It kind of looks like it. Yeah.
Well, Kelly, that sounds like you got it just as a graphic.
No, she said no graphic was used, just so the chart, she has a chart of information, but not the original, not the source information that it came
of the data.
Sounds. Yeah. So she said
I'd be glad to.
Just highlighted cells with colored borders, etc.
Oh, now I see your dilemma, Kelly.
Yeah.
But I'd be glad to look at it and see how I can help you. But it's probably not going to be an easy fix.
Yeah, she says very primitive, and that we should actually, maybe we should think about a crash course session where we just do nothing but troubleshooting one of these days, Donna, because there's a lot of little things like this that come up for you. You're like, oh, I inherited this awful file. Now how do I turn it into something that's much more usable and beautiful?
And we often do inherit awful files, and then sometimes there are quick resolves to what we inherit that's giving us a problem, but then sometimes there isn't a quick resolve other than reinventing the wheel.
Yes, yep, that's the challenge. Okay, the next question.
And see, since I don't see the flow chart, I don't know.
Right. The next question here is from Carol. She says, is it user preference of what type of layout to use? Are there any reference guidelines on what type of layout to use for information being presented?
You know, as to which you should choose?
Right, with the SmartArt, is there any preference to like which type of list or layout or guidelines?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. The decision that you make on what you choose is going to be according to how you think you can best communicate that information visually. For example, I've gone back to the radial list. That radial list has to do, again, with Google Plus Hangouts. Well, I could have chosen among many that would have given me that information, displayed the information, in the graphic. I could have gone with a bulleted vertical list, the vertical list as it's called, one with images. And I could have chosen any number of lists to communicate points. So when you're thinking about communicating points, then you have to decide between whether it's going to be a list, and if it is it going to be a more conventional, no frills type, which is just standard vertical list, or do you need images to connect your audience to the point? And in this one that I've used, I felt that visually it would connect better, especially if I were using it in a PowerPoint, because of the ability to add animation to it and have each spoke come in one at a time. And that's what you're all tasked with. You've got to decide which one among that huge library is going to communicate your information the best. And one more point I want to add to that, this is a scientific fact, and that is that anytime that you can put an image with text, that you exponentially increase the retention level of what you are presenting to someone, whether you're presenting it or whether it's in the written copy that you are sending out for them to read. Just like when you look at this one, there's an image here and the text is near it in form of circles and spokes.
Perfect. All right, and I think this is our final question. Can you take a list of employees and make an org chart?
As in take a vertical list and convert it to an org chart? Like right,
if you have a list in your Word document or a bulleted list, can you convert a list that you have in your document into an org chart?
Well, so this is what I'm hearing, that you've got a list of people, right?
Yes.
Okay. So see, with that list, like with anything, when you select and you right-click, you're looking for options like being able to make it a SmartArt. And as you can see from the actions list, there's not. If I go to the Insert ribbon and I choose SmartArt and I go to Hierarchy, I just get my organizational chart. My data's on the other page in case you wonder where it went to. It doesn't know where to put it. You have to think about that too. An organizational chart is a hierarchical structure. There's no way for the program to know that, oh, the person in the top of your vertical list that you typed is going to be at top tier of the organizational chart. And the second person is going to be in a reporting relationship as their assistant. So there's no way for the program to be able to ascertain placement.
So can you
Does
click
that
on
make
the
sense?
text pane and just copy and paste the list in there instead?
Okay, so if let me get to the list. It's a good question. What do I do with my names? That's okay. I'll get them here. Good questions, people. I'm just going to put Donna and Julie because it's quick. Okay, we're going here. I'm activating the object, and I've opened up the pane. And I did just a Control-V. See? I think that's what you want.
Yes. So if you have a list, you could copy and paste it into the text pane, and then you would just have to shift things around in and out depending on how you want them to lay out in the organizational structure for
That's
appropriate.
exactly right. But you know, if you were going to do it that way, and I don't blame you for wanting to take a short way. We're all for that. You know, what's the quickest point from A to B? Is that you could, if you do have such a list, then you could think in terms about reordering that list as close to the order as you can before you paste it into your text pane.
Right.
But it won't be, you know, super clean. You'll still have to do like just what you said, Julie.
Right.
But I'm glad someone has asked because other people are going to benefit from this demonstration.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. And Gail says, thank you. Got it. All right. Well, I think
Gail. Right.
that is all of the questions. So I am going to, hold on here, if I can figure out how to make the computer work for me.
I'd be interested to know how many people are using, this is their first time to use SmartArt. If you can have them raise their hand.
Yeah, if you're still on the line and this is your first time exploring or using SmartArt at all, you can raise your hand by, well, on your screen there should be like a little hand that you can click on, and that will show a raise of hands on the screen for us. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About half of our participants, this is new for them. In fact, one of them typed in here, she makes it look so easy.
Well, it is. It's just knowing where everything's at and how to use it. So today you got a mix of utilizing it first in Word, and then you got a little power bonus there in utilizing it in PowerPoint.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as with any crash course, our goal today was to arm you with the tools and strategies that you need to take it back to your computer and implement what you learned. So we encourage you to give some SmartArt a try in a couple of documents or presentations you're working on later today and see how it goes. And share this information with those you work with too, because it enhances your documents and makes them more enjoyable to read and helps the readers retain more of what you're sharing in important reports and presentations that you're distributing. So with that, we'd like to thank all of you for participating and investing your time and energy to be here with us today. That concludes our webinar. We look forward to seeing you again in a future AdminTech Crash Course very soon. Have a fantastic afternoon, everyone.